Hey, what's so funny?
Your face! Your face!
Yeah, damn it, Kingdom Hearts 2. You know, just because I don't show my face for a couple of videos in favor of, this commentary style, doesn't mean you need to make a freaking fuss about it. But regardless, here I am. I am right here in the flesh. And today, we're gonna be reviewing an anime! I think it's been a while, and I guess to celebrate this occasion, cue the intro, will you? I think it will set things up super well. Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World, is a very fascinating anime. It just came out this year. It has so many different kinds of elements that you don't see in a lot of modern animes today, like fantasy and cute girls, and a kingdom lore that's actually very deep and philosophical, and cute girls, and time travel, and the philosophy behind going back to life, and cute girls, and REM, and traps, and cute freaking girls! That's basically the itinerary for today, folks. Needless to say, if you are not a fan of any of the things that I have just listed, then it will really determine your opinion on whether you think this anime is pretty swell or boring. So welcome everybody to a new segment I like to call a review of Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World. And don't forget that subtitle there, buddy. Probably the only time that I will get to use this kind of title, so I will appreciate every freaking second of it. Where today we will be reviewing the heck out of this entire anime, because really, it's one thing to say that Re:Zero is a very popular anime, it's the freshest thing, the most innovative thing to ever happen to anime, when really, it's more of a thing that is kind of flawed, but is more of a one-of-a-kind thing to its genre. The main gimmick of Re:Zero is that it's Fire Emblem, because it really exposes Nintendo for showing how permadeath in strategy games is bullshit. No, I'm just joking with you. In all seriousness, Re:Zero stars a car, and he's immediately taken to this fantasy world where he essentially lives out the life of an RPG protagonist. The only difference being that this is not an RPG that lasts over 400 hours, and it doesn't take up 59 gigs of my memory space, and it's not a straight-up console port that is locked at 30 frames per second. You freaking square peasants! But the main snag of Re:Zero is that when this guy actually dies, he doesn't die. He gets sort of sent back to a different point in time where he can pretty much choose to go things a different route and hopefully don't get himself killed. If we can connect the dots a bit over here, we can attest this gimmick to being very similar to the game concept of a save point. Mostly somewhere of familiarity or comfort or a familiar moment that the game autosaves to, and this anime very overtly plays with this trope, similar to the 1993 American classic Undertale. I'm well aware that time travel plus a plot, it really tends to grind people's gears, and I am very aware of this. I think it's safe to say that if you're not a fan of time travel or blind let's plays, then this anime is not for you. Suffice to say, however, for the people who really get a good kick out of this kind of anime, then you're gonna see that the return by death gimmick of this anime has, it's a very double-edged sword. On one hand, it lets you see all kinds of scenarios from different angles. It kind of borders on mystery for a bit. It's like a real good whodunit, where you have this large cast of characters who can easily turn on themselves depending on what kind of motives or moves that you do. And in terms of the actual characters themselves, I like the cast quite a bit. I find most of them to be pretty throwaway for the most part. You're really just there to fill in an all-star cast. There's a big debate on the internet determining whether this lady is better than this lady, and a lot of people might be wondering my verdict on this trialed, sort of furious argument, this never-ending competition that has been going on. And I'd have to say neither of those two, because I like this girl a lot, because her forehead is the shiniest thing I have ever seen in a fictional piece of media, and needless to say, it is the most relatable kind of image I have ever seen in my entire life. But back to serious reviewing. It's like watching a good reality show to really sink your hands into, you know? It's like seeing someone try to survive on sheer confidence and, I guess, luck. In some instances, that really makes ReZero incredibly intriguing to watch at times. I'd also like to address the car protagonist known as Natsuki Subaru, and you know, a lot of people call him a very relatable character because, let's face it, any character who is a complete asshole, we can all relate with because that's pretty much all of us on this planet. I think that's why a lot of people really like Natsuki Subaru, not just because he's someone who reminds us of ourselves, but it's really, you know, someone we feel sorry for. And if anything, feeling for a cartoon anime character is a good thing in my book. However, where this gimmick unfortunately falls on its face, it's something that you really gotta understand in terms of retrospect and in terms of length also. You start looking at these episodes, you marathon them for a bit, and then you realize it took him 7 episodes to not die. And ReZero loves being stubborn, with dedicating several batches of episodes to one kind of scenario. The arcs for this thing are very clearly defined. The focus really shifts itself. A lot of characters are either completely forgotten or abandoned in favor of others. Without going into any spoiler territory, I think that's why a lot of people found this particular ending to be quite underwhelming, as it's actually a very happy ending, when really ReZero is setting us up for this next season, multi-season saga hit that it's eventually going to become, and that will hopefully wow us as it continues to progress. All in all, I like ReZero. I like it quite a bit. It's just that when I look at this anime in retrospect, I tend to see myself enjoying ReZero more in concept than in actual execution. Now, don't get me wrong, it does have a lot going for it. There's a lot of philosophical kind of qualities and all these kinds of different motivations that really make you feel for the protagonist and almost all the characters in general. There are quite a number of elements that are very different. With that being said, I think I'm looking forward more to the future of ReZero than what we currently have at the moment. This is ReZero, the beta, to say the least. I hope the series, as it continues to go on, can not just, you know, resolve all of the questions that I had towards the end, but also, you know, continue surprising us, maybe make the scale of what is currently happening a bit bigger, so that way it can kind of reduce the fatigue of the repetition. Towards the end of the first season is where I kind of lost interest, because the gimmick of this anime kind of really takes a backseat. It really plays itself straight as this actual, literal fantasy kingdom anime. It doesn't make it as interesting, in my opinion. Overall, I give ReZero a 3 rems out of 5, and unfortunately for this review, it couldn't reach the prestigious score of a damn good rem cosplay out of 10. But for what it's worth, for what my rating is worth, at the very least, I quite enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everyone, for sticking with this very unorganized review, this review of ReZero. Hopefully you can all distinguish my legitimate, actual, real criticisms of this anime compared to me just being a meme. This is Matt the Chozo, and okay, I'm sorry, I have a bit of a last-minute kind of announcement to make in regards to this review. I don't love ReZero at all. I am very sorry, I don't love ReZero. I love Amelia.
そんな歩き方が